Hello students. In earlier sessions, we have covered the basics of accounting, the concept of accounting standards, its need, present scenario under Indian conditions, and related things. In today's session, we are going to concentrate on some of the basic terms which are used while recording the transactions in books of accounts. Clear understanding about all these concepts is very essential because then only you will be comfortable while recording these transactions through Tally. So let's understand these concepts today. The first accounting term which we are going to cover is expense. Next. Now expense means what? Basically it is any value, the benefit of which is already received by the business. What business is receiving? Business is receiving the benefit. And what business is paying? Business is making payment in the form of cash. So suppose business is making payment for the salary. If a question is asked, what you have paid? You have paid for a salary. Show what is salary. What you show? You can show that this much cash is paid by the business. But you have paid it for salary. You have paid it in the form of cash, correct? But you have paid for salary. So basically, cash will be one aspect when you are recording it in the books of accounts. But your accountant will ask you for what purpose you have paid this cash. Cash is going out, correct? But for what purpose it is going out? Then you will say it is going out for salary. So what is salary? Salary becomes the expense. Because we always give two aspects. We always give two effects of a particular transaction. So one aspect is cash, correct? But cash is going out for what? For the salary. So name can be different. It can be insurance, it can be rent, it can be anything. But cash going out for different purposes, the benefit of which is already received by the business, that is called as expense. Now suppose your employee has worked for the month of March, but he is asking you the salary even for April. Now you are making payment for March also, for April also. How you will record this transaction? March salary, March payment will be taken as salary because you have already received the benefit. But what about April? You are making payment but benefit is not received. So you call it as advance salary. So what is important over here? Payment is not important. Whether you have paid it or not is not important. Whether you have got the benefit, that is important. So when you are making payment for the month of April, we call it as an advance salary. And advance salary or prepaid salary becomes our asset from the viewpoint of business. We don't call it as expense. Simultaneously, if something is not paid for the month of February, right now March is going on and something is not paid for the month of February, that expense becomes the outstanding expense. That expense becomes the outstanding expense because you haven't made payment for that. So what is important? Important point is the benefit, whether you have received it or not, for treating any particular item as a expense. Okay. So when we say advance salary I want to record, then you prepare the representative personal account. Because you can't call it as a salary, then what you do? You use the word prepaid. To prepaid, you add the word salary. So prepaid salary. Salary paid in advance. This is representative personal account. You can't call it as an expense. So it becomes basically your asset. So what is important? The important point is the benefit is received or not. The next term is asset. What is asset? It is any value, the benefit of which will be received in future. In expense, we have already received the benefit. But asset, we are going to receive the benefit in the future. For more than 1 year, you are going to get the benefit of that particular value. That is called as asset. Now, right now, I am not talking much on the asset. Why? Because I'll be delivering a separate session for the types of assets, how to record different assets. So right now, just remember the point that asset is any value, the benefit of which will be received in future. It is not yet received, it will be received in future. Next. The third concept is capital. Now we have covered this concept, which we call it as separate legal entity. In separate legal entity, what we have said that business and businessman are two separate persons. When any businessman starts a business, then he has to invest some amount in the business for starting of the business. Generally, if it is in the form of say cash, what is received by the business? Cash is received by the business. Okay, accountant will record that cash is received. But due to dual aspect concept, which should be the other account for which he has to pass the entry? So instead of writing the name of that person, suppose Mahesh has started business, then instead of calling it as a Mahesh, we call it as is Mahesh Capital. So we are using the term capital for the cash which is introduced by Mahesh in the business. If it is a joint stock company, then there are so many contributories. I cannot use the name of a single person. Then I call it as a shareholders funds or shareholders capital. So what is important for understanding the concept of capital? It is something which is invested by the businessman from his private resources in the business. Now it is received by the business. It becomes the property of business now. Suppose businessman has introduced building, he has introduced furniture, he has introduced machinery. Now all that belongs to business. Now businessman cannot say that this is mine. No, now it all belongs to business. So in simple terms, how can you define the concept of capital? You can define the concept of capital as it is the owner's contribution to the overall investment in the business. The overall investment of the business. So what we say, while starting business, suppose cash is introduced. From the point of view of business also cash is received. But for double entry system, we are using the name of contributory, that is capital in the form of. So capital means owner's claim in total assets of the business. It is just his claim in the total assets of the business. So suppose total assets of the business are 10 lakhs. Out of that, 3 lakhs are in the form of loan. Then 7 lakhs in the form of owner. So that is his capital. It can be in the form of cash, machinery, furniture or anything. So in simple terms, you will say capital means owner's claim in total assets of the business. Owner may introduce building as I said or any other asset, but all those assets now belong to business. So owner's contribution just remains in the form of claim in total assets and not in the form of cash or assets. Parallel to this, how you will explain liability? It is the claim of outsiders in total assets of the business. It is the claim of outsiders in total assets of the business. Okay, so capital is contribution of the owner and liability, it is the contribution of the outsiders. Next. Then the fifth term is income, which goes on parallel lines with the expense. While explaining the expense concept, what I have said, the business has received the benefit and business has made the payment in the form of cash or anything. Here what I will say, the business is giving the benefit. Business is giving the benefit. It is rendering services and in return the cash is received, payment is received or it may not be received. It may be outstanding, it may be receivable. Again, what is important? benefit is given, service is rendered, that is important. Work is done, that is important. So for example, teaching services is provided, but payment is not received. Still it is your income. So whether cash is received or not is not important. What is important? That you have given the benefit. Suppose a particular student has taken admission for a coaching class. Service is not yet rendered, but while taking admission, he has made certain payment. That payment cannot be called as income. It is to be called as advance income because you have not yet rendered the service. Whenever you will render the service, at that time it will be treated as income. So same logic you have to understand, whether benefit is given or not, that is the important point. Whether cash is received or not, that is not the important point. Then next point you can call it, next term you can call it as business transaction. What is business transaction? Transaction is basically what? It is an exchange. Exchange means what? Give and take. Business is giving something, receiving something. This giving and receiving is called as exchange. And this is nothing but the two aspects that are involved in any particular transaction. These are called as the two aspects, giving aspect and receiving aspect. And both of these aspects we are going to record because we are going to follow the double entry system. Okay. Double entry system is the perfect system, is the most scientific system, and in majority of the cases we follow this double entry. Of course, that doesn't mean that the other system, which we call it as single entry system, is not at all followed. It is followed, but in majority of the cases, we are going to follow the double entry system. Okay. Then the next, seventh, goods. Now, goods means what? Goods means the commodity. These are the articles in which the businessman deals, or the businessman trades, or the trader trades. This is called as goods. जिसका वो business कर रहा है, that will become his goods. I'll tell you two examples. Suppose a dealer is dealing in electronic goods. He is dealing in electronic goods. Then TV, washing machine, AC, all will be his goods. But in his shop, whatever sofa set he has, whatever small table he has, chair he has, they become his asset. But all electronic goods, items, will be basically his goods. But if a trader is dealing in furniture items, then sofa, that small table, chair, now will become his goods. And the AC what he has, the fans what he has in his office, they will become his asset. So what is important, in which things, in which commodities a businessman is dealing, basically that is called as his goods. Now the concept of goods we can classify into four parts: purchases, sales, purchase returns, and sales returns. We have to always think from the viewpoint of business. So when business is purchasing the goods are coming in, so obviously purchases will be always debited. Whatever goods are purchased sometimes may be returned back by the business. We call it as purchase returns. Goods are coming in debit, goods are going out obviously credit. So purchase returns will be always credited. Next term is sales. Business is selling the goods. When he is selling the goods, goods are going out. Goods are going out, so it will be always credited. Sometimes the customers may return the goods. We call it as sales returns. Now goods are coming back to the business. Sales returns will be again always debited. So purchases debit, purchase returns credit. Sales credit, sales returns always debit because they are opposite. So many times students feel that, or basically when you are in the first year of your learning process, goods account is the common account which is used for all these four transactions. But many times students get confused because even when goods are purchased, there is debit. Even when there are sales returns, there is debit. So it is always better that you use the terms purchases, purchase returns, sales and sales returns, so that you will have a clarity. Okay. Then next. Now, the next term is direct expense and indirect expense. What is direct expense? These are those expenses which are completely related or assigned to the core business operations. Basically, direct expenses are those expenses which we incur at the time of manufacturing or while rendering of services. So basically, they are related with the core production activities of the business. That we call it as direct expense. Direct expenses are a part of prime cost or the cost of goods or services which are sold by the company. Of course, these direct expenses will differ from company to company. These expenses are debited to trading account. Because you know this, that all manufacturing expenses, all direct expenses, all factory expenses, we debit to trading account. What we want to find out through trading account? We want to find out what is the gross profit earned by the business. And what is gross profit? It's a difference between the sale price and the cost of goods sold. So what we are deducting? We are deducting the cost of the goods which are sold. So in order to find out what is the cost of production, whatever expenses we incur for the actual production, they will be all covered in the concept of direct expenses. So you can take the example, say carriage, that is carriage inward, fuel, custom duty, factory expenses. So whatever expenditure you incur for actual production, for actual manufacturing, they all will be covered as direct expenses. Parallel to this, another term is what? Indirect expenses. As the name suggests, these are indirect. Means what? They are not directly related with the production of goods and services. But just production of goods is not sufficient. You have to sell it in the market also. And to sell it in the market, you have to maintain one office. There will be office staff. There will be a number of other expenses also, which are not directly related with production, but which are absolutely essential for delivering the goods to the customer's premises. So what it will cover? It will cover all admin expenses, all office expenses, all selling expenses, distribution expenses, financial expenses, marketing expenses. All these expenses are essential to run a business. Just manufacture करके क्या करोगे? Sell तो करना ही है. So for selling, all these extra expenses are required to be incurred. So they all are called as what? Indirect expenses. Can be rent, salary, insurance, but they all are related to office. That point you have to remember. Indirect expenses, as I said, they can't be directly related to the cost of the core revenue generating goods and services. And these expenses are debited to income statement. Income statement means what? Profit and loss account. So all direct expenses we are going to debit to trading account, and all indirect expenses we are going to profit and loss account. Next. Next term is direct income and indirect income. Again, what is direct income? Direct income refers to the income that a business earns through activities directly related to its day-to-day operations. Means what? Actual selling of goods, actual rendering of services. From that, whatever income they get, that we call it as direct income. Parallel to that, what is indirect income? It is the revenue that a business generates through channels that are not directly related to your day-to-day operations. For example, sale of old newspaper, sale of carton boxes, or sale of old bottles, which are non-business. They are not related to business. They are other items. So when you sell these goods and you receive something, then that is called as the indirect income. Now the next concept is debtors. Many times we use this particular concept, but we don't understand exactly what this debtors concept is. Who are debtors? You have to again think from the viewpoint of business. From the viewpoint of business, who are their debtors? Debtors are those persons from whom the amount is receivable for the business. They are called as the debtors of the business. So these are those outsiders who are going to make payment to the company, to the business. Now why they will pay amount to the business? There can be different reasons. Major reason is they have sold the goods. As goods are sold, the amount becomes receivable. If they are cash sales, then there is no problem. But when goods are sold on credit, they are already delivered to the customers, but amount is not received. They become our debtors because they have to make us payment. If we are a finance company and we have given loan, then the person who has taken loan has to repay us the amount. They become our debtors. Suppose I have issued some bonds, some investments, securities. The persons who are purchasing those investments, they have to make us payment. Again, they are our debtors. So in broad terms, who is debtor? Debtor is a person who has to pay the amount to the other person. Now, in accounting sense or bookkeeping sense, strictly the concept of debtor, that is this word debtor, is used when goods are sold on credit and amount is receivable. Suppose you have sold asset also on credit. At that time also the amount is receivable, but there we don't say just a debtor. Then we say debtor for furniture, debtor for machinery. We just don't say debtor. So in bookkeeping terminology, debtor means a person whom we have sold goods on credit and amount is receivable from them. Now there can be 1,000 customers to whom you have sold goods on credit. So all are your debtors. From all the persons amount is receivable. So are you going to write the name of each and every customer on the asset side? Is possible, but that is not the correct way of presentation. So what we do? We total up the whole amount and we give them the name sundry debtors. So what is sundry debtors? This amount indicates the total amount what is receivable from all the customers to whom we have sold goods on credit. Parallel to this, we have got the next term as creditors. Again, from the business point of view, who are our creditors? These are the persons to whom business has to make payment. Now, why business has to make payment? Because business has purchased material from them. So, they are our suppliers. And that's why we have to pay them amount. Again, there can be n number of suppliers. So all the amount payable to all our creditors will be called as what? Sundry creditors. Now the point is very clear that amount is receivable from debtors. So they are our assets. And amount is payable to creditors. So that is our liability. So debtors and creditors. Next term is what? Secured and unsecured liabilities. Secured liability means what? It is the liability for which some asset is given as security. Some asset is given as security. That we call it as a secured liability. Any liability holder will prefer such type of security because his interest gets safe. If after a few years you fail to make him payment, then what he will do? He will sell that asset in the market and recover his dues. So, any loan giver will always prefer that his amount gets secured. Now, how can you create a security? Maybe by way of hypothecation. maybe by way of pledge, maybe through mortgage. There can be variety. But some asset you are giving as a security, the liability holder becomes a secured liability. Parallel to this, unsecured liability will be what? No asset is given as a security. You are not offering him anything. Whatever is your own goodwill in the market, based on that only he keeps faith. He believes on you that this person will pay my amount, and based on that he gives you the loan. Liability, you have taken something from the other to repay that. Secure and unsecured. Okay. The next one is suspense. Really, it's a suspense. What is suspense? Many times it happens in recording the transactions that accountant doesn't know where should I put this amount, to which account should I debit it, or to which account I should credit this. Payment is made or payment is received or some entry is made, debit is given, but he doesn't know to which account should be credited. Credit is given, he doesn't know which account should be debited. Then what he should do? Should he held up the work? No. He will put the difference temporarily to the suspense account and go ahead. And later on find out, later on decide. So temporarily the amount is transferred to a particular account and that account we call it as a suspense account. So he is keeping it in suspense. Later on the accountant will find out and will rectify, will make changes, and that suspense account will get cancelled. When you were in 11th standard and when you will solving rectification of errors topic, at that time also this term you must have heard. The entry is made, payment is made, debit is there, but we don't know which account is to be credited. So we are putting it temporarily to the suspense account and later on that will be rectified. Next, drawings. Now what is drawings? Basically anything withdrawn by the owner from business is called as drawings. He is withdrawing from the business, but what is important point? For his personal use. He may withdraw cash, he may withdraw goods, he may withdraw any asset, take any asset from the business, or even any of the expenditure of the owner is paid by the business. That is also quite possible. There is a huge building and 3 floors are used as a business and 4th floor he is residing, the owner is residing. But the whole telephone bill is paid, the whole rent is paid. Means what? The rent, the telephone bill, the electricity bill of his house of the 4th floor is also paid by the business. So expenditure is paid by the business. That is also quite likely. He may directly withdraw cash from the business. He may directly take over goods from the business. He may take over any of the asset of the business also. What is important? He is taking it for his personal use. Then we always use the term drawings. Now drawing is exactly opposite of capital. Capital is what? Businessman is introducing from his private sources in the business. And drawing is what? He is withdrawing something from the business for his personal use. Now capital is always credited. Obviously drawing will be always debited because of drawings his investment in the business is getting reduced. And when we have to reduce something, you have to deduct it. And to deduct, you have to give opposite effect. So capital always has a credit and drawings will always have a debit. So these are the different basic concepts which we have covered up till now. And I am sure that all these concepts you must have understood very well. And this will help you definitely when you will pass entries in the tally. Okay? Thank you.